We are live. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. How are you all today? I am KS. Converse with KS is here today with the second episode with Parag Sen. First and foremost, I would like to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart for supporting Nurture Life's Converse with KS. And the first episode, we were able to cross 50,000 views, and it's because of all of you helping us to be successful this way. Thank you so very, very much. And let me start out by introducing you to Parag. I know that people are still joining from across the world. It'll take some time for you all to probably join, but I will start out the introduction. So by the time people have joined Parag, we will be able to continue with the conversation. Um, First and foremost, welcome on board Nurture Life, Nurture Life's Converse with KS. Thank you for accepting our invite to be here. And it's just a pleasure to have you after a long time, seeing you and having you on board. Thank you.
Thanks, Kavita. That was a very generous introduction.
I've not started yet. So I'm going to start now. So I only introduced you, I only welcomed you. Now comes the introduction. For those of you who have joined us today, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Parag Sen, the CEO of Homepecked. Who is Parag? He's a possibilist, data intuitive, international winning business leader, and also a people leader. Some of the skills that he has: strategic planning development and execution with P&L and board experience, extensive board experience, I must say. He won the African Brand Leadership Award in 2014. He is a visiting faculty at IAMB and also at SCMS Cochin. He is a very avid art collector, and I have seen his art collection, and believe me, it's amazing. He is also an amazing, amazing cook. One of his hobbies happens to be laying out an entire spread of dishes, and that's something that I've been witness to. He loves traveling and photography. One of the best things that I love about Parag and his home is when I walk into their house, it's a library. They have a library of 10,000 books. That means that not only do they encourage reading, they also are very well-read people, and Parag definitely is. His hobbies in sports happens to be very varied, but right now I know that he's extremely interested in playing golf, and I think he very recently won an award in a tournament, and his experience is very vast. So let's talk to Parag, and I am going to start off with asking the first question. Tell me about the possibilist, Parag. Why possibilist, and what is it all about?
Um, in my generation, and I keep telling this to my kids as well, that people from our generation, um, we came from a background of scarcity, right? Um, Coming from middle class backgrounds, parents had limited resources, limited means. Uh, so we have grown up surrounded by scarcity, not just financial, natural resources. The country was growing at that point in time. And I think we are one of those last generations after which the economy went into an upside. The later generations are growing up in the middle of abundance, I would say. So I think a lot of my personality or my beliefs and value systems have been driven by that aspirational factor that you can push yourself to get things done, and that's where that whole possibilist attitude came, that nothing can be daunting enough for you to get scared and run away, right? That life will throw different challenges, and you may not be prepared to face all the challenges at every point in time. Uh, but there are certain philosophies, if you keep believing in them and if you keep practicing them over a period of time, you will develop a habit of finding out ways and means to overcome those challenges. So that's what possibilist, meant to me. And
Wow.
even my career, my personal career, the choices I have made, the places I have worked in, uh, all led to that. That I always felt that uh, every difficulty always has a possibility beyond that, and if you can get there, you will possibly discover newer things and newer learnings.
Very much. I totally agree with you because there's something that I always have said in impossible is I am possible. So I
Yes.
think you actually are an epitome of it. While we're talking about being a possibilist, one of the things that I'm very curious about is I know that you are a problem solver. I have known that, I have read about you, I have witnessed that. And I think when it comes to solving a problem, innovation is very important. And hence, I think disruptor
I lost you in
in
that
the
last
construction
bit.
industry or the real estate industry. I would like to know more about that. I'm sure that our audience will love that. So we would like to know about innovation innovator. So being an innovator, what is it about innovation? And let's hear more about Homepecked.
Okay, let me maybe start with
Because I know
Homepecked
that
and then I'll
Homepecked,
come. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, so we are trying to solve a problem in an industry. Uh, by general perception, this is an industry which is looked down upon. Construction as a business, as an industry, doesn't have the glamorous tone to it. I think that was one of the appeal that which appealed to us. Three of us actually founded Homepeck, that uh, where everybody is shunning, possibly there is an opportunity for us to do something. The bigger problem which we are trying to solve in Homepeck, in the construction value chain,
mhm,
uh, the actual projects are executed by very small contractors, the last mile contractors, we call them. And they have a bigger problem of access to capital. Nobody lends to them.
correct,
The banks don't lend to them. The financial institutions don't look at them for various reasons. Could be balance sheet issues, could be business practices, and whatnot. But the moot point is that they don't get funding, so they are forced to borrow from private lenders at very high interest rates. So
right,
the goal was from day one is to, can we use technology uh, to make them lendable, so that banks and financial institutions can look at them favorably. So that has been the a driving point
correct.
for Homepeck, that
Mhm,
how do you develop a solution which banks and lending institutions can use to underwrite loans. So that's the key USP which we have built. We have developed a tool which can machine read a CAD drawing, and as an output, it can generate a bill of materials, a bill of quantity, by machine reading the CAD drawing without any human intervention. So this data is very sacrosanct because there is no man. It cannot be manipulated. You are reading directly from a drawing and developing the calculations. So banks tend to rely on them far more than numbers which have been derived by manually calculated by engineers or draftsmen. Uh, with that, we are able to encourage banks to use the tool to underwrite loans on our platform, especially to a sector who nobody looks at them, nobody gives the loan to them. So we are providing them access to capital at an affordable rate, which they can use to finish their projects by buying materials from our platform. So we do two things for them. We actually help them to get uh, loans or working capital funding from lenders, which otherwise they don't get. And also, we make them use that money to buy materials for whatever
mhm,
is needed for their project from our platform, which we directly procure from manufacturers. So they get savings from both sides. They save on the rate of interest, which they otherwise would pay 20, 24%. In on our platform, they get at 16, 18%. And the materials which they purchase from our platform, they get anything between 5 to 10% lower than what otherwise they would do when they procure. So that's what we try and do at Homepecked, and we are at the cusp of scaling up the business in the near future. Now, if I have to,
Wow.
ask you, answer
Wow.
your first
Okay. That
question,
that's just
what drives it?
because
Sorry,
mm,
you're saying something. Am I audible?
yeah. So basically, what I wanted to know was that, because of the fact that you have come up with an innovative, disruptive solution. So obviously, you love startups, and you are also a startup. How challenging has it been to procure funding? Because I am a start. We are also a startup for the sixth time, and funding has always been a challenge. And I always believe that people who do invest in startups should be more open minded and not always demand for a proof of concept if the idea is brilliant. Your thoughts on it, please.
Um, so, funding is always a big challenge for any startup, especially in the initial phases. Um, but if you look from the perspective of the investors, uh, they would have hundreds of proposals on the desks, coming every day, every week. So they also need to follow a logical and scientific approach to figure out how to choose the winning ideas out of that. So many times we may feel
Correct.
that we are hard done by, we didn't get the money from a particular investor. But the trick to get investment, in my
Hmm.
experience, is to find out two things, which I think many startups don't have the knowledge how to do it. We all learn by experience, by making mistakes. I think one of the first things startups must do is to find out a DNA match between the investor and you
Hmm.
as founders. Not every investor is meant for every founders, right? It is important to figure
Correct.
out what kind of philosophy you are building in your startup, what kind of company you are building, what are your philosophies, what are your value systems, and you should try and find out which are the investors, whether they're investment companies or they're angel investors, that who believes in those kind of things. Right? There has to be a DNA match. There has to be a good matchmaking. Why rejections happen very high? Because you end up going
Correct.
and pitching everywhere, where the probability of you getting even listened to is limited. So I think that's the first thing startup founders must do, is spend time and find out, chisel out a list of investors which kind of fit within your brand philosophy, your product philosophy, and then go and pitch. The possibility of the success will be much better. The second thing is that you know, especially in the Indian context, we always tend to get overwhelmed by the size of the market, right? The scalability opportunity of any idea is very large. It can scale to crores and crores of business. But that also has a false side to it. You may end up projecting numbers, or psychologically trying to chase certain goals, which could be very difficult uh, in an organic manner. So some kind of prudence is needed, that when you make your business plan, when you go through your numbers, how you cast your numbers. uh, we have several times been told that why not delivering 10x, 15x, right? Three of us have firmly, having spent 2.5, 3 decades in corporate world, we have that wisdom to know that it is better to grow slow but grow steady, right? And you should have the courage to stand up and have the conviction to convince the investors that we are here for the long run. Right? We are not chasing a 10x growth for the next 2 years. We are here for the
Yes.
long run. Even if you grow 2x, 3x for the next 2, 3 years, we are happy, right? Because we are trying to build a foundation. It will take time for us to build foundation, especially when you're building a disruptive idea. There are so many pros and cons. Like, nobody knew that COVID will hit you, right? Nobody had made a
Yes.
business plan that, which can account for that. There will be no business for 24 months. Now,
Yeah.
we just launched just before COVID, 6 months before COVID, and within 6 months we had the shutdown because COVID had hit very badly. Now, these are not part of the business plan, but how do you survive those kind of onslaughts,
Yes.
right? So, preservation of capital, gunpowder, preservation of having gunpowder, having the ability to run long are important
Yeah.
factors. And I believe in this chase, sometimes both sides, investor side and founder side, become too optimistic in too many things. I think it is important to cast a realistic picture of what we can do, what we can achieve, because it is not possible to achieve everything just because you will have the money. But there are so many other
And
external factors to, uh, you know, factor in.
yes, yes, yes. I totally agree with you. One of the things that I think I remember same because I remember the COVID situation with you, and it was the same with me. And at that point of time, I remember there was somebody who reached out because we had changed. We basically came up with an innovative solution, and I said, well, there is my project which has to be on field. Can we take it off? Off and try to do it remotely, and I was able to do it, and it was one of the case studies. Business continuity during a pandemic is something I
Mm.
don't think anybody planned, and I think today we can talk about business continuity if there is a pandemic. I think that's a lesson again learned, right?
Absolutely.
Having said that, one of the most important things that I would like to sort of touch base upon is your time in Afghanistan post Taliban era, and then that merger and acquisition that you did for $350 million, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Because that must probably be a highlight, because it's not an easy thing. How did you carry that off? Your time in Africa, Lagos, and then Afghanistan. I
So
mean,
Afghanistan happened before Africa,
yeah.
and it was actually during the time when insurgency was in full force. I was there between 2008 and 2011.
Wow.
So it was not post Taliban; it was during that time. But I must say
True.
that those are the challenging, assignments I have had the opportunity to take up. It wasn't easy living in a war-torn geography uh, with so many risks involved. But once you get down to start doing work and meet the local people, understand the hardships that they go through on a daily life, and use your position to find out solutions for them, uh, is phenomenally satisfying. For example, when we were, I was in one of the telecom companies which also had a license to operate there. We used our solutions to reach out to the women population in Afghanistan to deliver with BBC and British Council basically education courses. Uh,
Wow.
the literacy level was quite low at that point in time. I'm sure it has improved manifold by now, but access to education is also a big challenge. So we used mobile phone as the primary access device, and we used to
Wow.
deliver lessons and learnings through the mobile phone to very remote areas. And that was a massive success. And it was especially targeted to the women folk because when we joined at that point in time, out of the 33 million population, uh, the population of working male uh, was less than 30% because many of them have died because of the war. So there were families which were only led by women folk, and if they didn't have access to education, they wouldn't have access to a job. So economic upliftment was becoming difficult. So we used them, the solution to reach out to them, get them the necessary access to information, education,
Wow.
which would skill them, and then use that skill to get a job. I think those kind of things you get to do only in very difficult situations. You don't get to do it in a mature economy or a stable economy.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
things come only when you look beyond the uh, usual horizon. We even did a
Yes.
program where for the shepherds who used to be up in the mountains, and they used to find very difficult to
Wow.
come and sell their livestock down in Kabul, because the
Hmm.
cost of coming down from the mountain to Kabul and going back was very high, and they were not even sure how many sales they would make. So we launched a app which was, and this was in 2009 when we had launched an app on a
Wow.
non-smartphone, not even a smartphone, where they could actually do the auction live from their mobile phone, sitting from their home. And only when the sale is confirmed, they would come down, bringing the amount of livestock needed to go and sell and come back. So you need to
Wow.
make you need get this opportunity to do these life changing solutions, which otherwise is not possible in a stable economy. I would say.
Very much, very much. And while we were talking about this particular journey of yours, two things that sort of came to my mind that I would love to hear about is one is one when you are in such a particular situation where it is, there's war and there's so much that's going on. Two things that I would like to know. You will have to concentrate on when everything is going around you that seems to sort of be deteriorating, destruction, and very dark. How did you and what do you think about mental well-being and our mental health? How do we become positive? How do we stay? How do we deal with what is happening? Because there is death everywhere, you get to see so much that's happening. And then you're talking about women, so obviously you're also another person who believes in the empowerment of women, or because I have seen you with both your daughters too, and you believe in equity, not just equality, because I wouldn't fight equality because I don't think I'm lesser. And I know that Muthu and both the kids also are like that. All three of them, as a matter of fact. So let's talk about your take on equity for women and also mental well-being and these two things. Very important topics that I would like to speak about.
Um, you know, One of the things which have driven me in my career is the conscious choice of building teams where there would be enough and more number of women in the team. And
Wow.
I have done it across my different organization roles with a core belief that, as you rightly said, that there is no difference between what a man and a woman can do and deliver, right? As long as the platform is provided to anybody. As a matter of fact, most of the ladies in my team, whether it's in Afghanistan, which was a very, very conservative society, right? And I had a very fantastic American boss who had agreed to push for more recruitment of women, active women, uh,
Wow.
in the company so that they can become, economically independent and run their household. It took us quite a lot of convincing among the local folks, but we did it. I mean, I think at some point in time in the marketing department and the sales department, we had more than 40% women. Especially in
Wow.
enterprise sales, we had put a lot of women even in Afghanistan. So coming back to the whole point is that I had always believed that competency should be the first criteria. Uh,
Yes.
who is behind the name doesn't make a difference, right? And you
Very
need
well
to
said.
provide an equal platform to everybody, irrespective of your gender, your belief, your faith, your caste, your creed. That shouldn't stand on your way. Uh,
Yes.
so, and it also ties down very strongly with the mental well-being. If it's a all-male force in an organization, the culture, the DNA, it is very, very different, and at times it can become toxic. It is very important to have women around, even in office, right? That brings in the balance and thinking in your approach, in the way your outlook. Not just when you're making sales or marketing, but also when you're designing communication, when you're designing a product, you get those inputs. So it is important that offices look primarily to bring in the balance by having enough and more number of women in the
Yes.
roles. Uh, in terms of the mental well-being, as I was telling you, I think it's very good that of late the world has woken up to the need for the mental well-being. In our times, it was unheard of. None of us
Yes.
even knew
Very much.
possibly what it was all about. Um, when you, especially in the context of Afghanistan, when I used to meet uh, people to interview, uh, you become extra sensitive, right? Because the background they come from, somebody would have lost their whole family. Somebody would have been subjected to persecution for their religious beliefs, whatever it is. How do you integrate them into an office atmosphere? There will be a lot of resistances, normal societal resistances. How do you um, get them turn around and come to accept that this is what you are believing in? Whenever there is a destruction in and around you, uh, at least I also had the advantage because I'm an ex-army officer, so I'm well trained in you know looking at that side in a different perspective. But even more than that, couple of things I've always believed in this concept of butterfly effect. I always believe that there are certain things, smaller things happen over a period of time for a reason, which then combine together over a prolonged period of time and leads to something bigger. So there is a reason why you end up at a certain place and a certain position, uh, and that butterfly effect always had held me good in my
Wow.
own mental well-being, and I've also driven me to focus that we tend to get bogged down by the uncontrollables many times in our lives. I've always
Very much.
focused that the having the ability of figuring out if there is a challenge, out of this challenge which are controllables and what is uncontrollable, and try and focus on the controllables because that is what you can deliver, and try and
Yes.
see within the uncontrollables, can there something be done which can change from them being uncontrollable to controllable? If yes, then try and find out solutions. If no, then move on. Don't get bogged down by the uncontrollables, right? Then you'll start defaulting at every step and every stage. And lastly, the motivation, the self motivation. One needs to have ample amount of it. The ability to
Yes.
believe in yourself, the ability to believe that you will be able to drive this change, and have the conviction that I keep telling my girls as well that when you decide, right, you will never have adequate data to decide. You will always be short of data to decide, but there has to be
Yes.
some degree of that there is a reason why it's called gut feel, right? And the
Yes.
gut is from where the brain derives the link, right? That
Yes.
you need to have that sense. You need to have that fifth sense that okay, this is what it possibly is going to go right, and this is doesn't sound good. So
Yes.
it is the ability to balance these two and uh, never look back after you have taken a decision. That once you have
Yes.
decided, go with it. Because once you start looking back, then it's a disaster,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
hindsight is always 2020. It doesn't make good solution.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Such a beautiful, beautiful point to put across. And since you talked about girls, now I'm definitely going to come to one of the most important things that has mattered to me, and I have seen you, achieve that. The most beautiful thing. I mean, most of the viewers, if you do already know, Parag is a father to two girls, but he has raised other children too, and that's one of the most beautiful things that I saw at your house. It was whether it was your brother's child, whether it was your sister, whether it was a friend's child. And frankly speaking, even if it was my kids who just walked in, they were just accepted so openly. So every time I walk into your house, there is this sense of world oneness, or just mankind and humanity and compassion and empathy so much, whether it is to human beings, children, or to animals. How do you manage this? Because I think this is responsible parenting, and hence your children have become, all of them who you have raised have become such amazing individuals. I believe that it's important to be a responsible and accountable parent, teaching the same thing to your children. Your take on that, because you've done such a wonderful job, I think.
A lot of this credit and equal credit should go to my wife, Muthu, because together we had embarked on this thing that uh, if we can do, of course, every parent will do for their own children. I mean, that's given. But if ever an opportunity came that you get a chance to do something for others, we should take up that responsibility. So that has driven us. So it's a proud thing to say that a lot of these kids have passed through our home and made good in their own career, in their own lives. And I'm sure what will happen is they will continue to do their part
Yes.
going in. So it will be a continuous process. It has also taught our children the value of sharing, the value of caring, and being compassionate. I think that's one of the most important thing which we tend to forget more often than not in this world. It has become so polarized that we have
Yeah.
forgotten to be passionate human beings. At the end of the day, the first thing we wanted to be, both Muthu and myself, is that be first good human beings. Right? Whether you're having a good career or a successful career or you make money, it's secondary. If you have a good human being, everything else will fall in place. And I think that has driven us largely in our lives, that we want to lead a life as being good human beings, compassionate human beings. I think that's more important. And it's good, it's good to have. We had at point in time uh, 10 people in our house, right? Um, our two children and us and six others. And I think that is the beauty of a house, right? When you have multiple souls
Yes.
going around different age groups, playing, learning, and it doesn't make a difference whether you're related by blood or not, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, we are all human beings. We are living in the same earth. So why not? So that's what been our philosophy, and
Yeah.
we are happy that we have been able to do that. I think we consider ourselves lucky to be able to do that.
And believe me, what a beautiful way of doing, because I mean, I know Muthu personally so well too. Another amazing individual. I'll definitely be having her on our show, because she's again a woman that should be heard. But between both of you, the balance that you have created in terms of acceptance of people, just as they are, who they are, how they are, and children as individuals that exist as souls in this world, and the souls have basically, they have subscribed for us to be parents. The universe has given this opportunity, so let us be better parents. I love that about you, and I love the balance that you both have created for the children too. So, something that I would definitely love to hear from you is, what is it the world does not know about you? The world knows a lot of things about you, but what is it that the world does not know about Parag? Because Converse with KS is all about revealing that one thing about the individual who comes on my show that the world does not know, which is very, very special about them. So, what is the world does not know about Parag that they should know? That's just Parag.
Uh, I think parenting gives me great pleasure. Uh, that has been my the core of my existence. When I grew up, and the kind of value systems my parents, my I also was brought up by my aunt and uncle for the longest period of time. Uh, and as I said, I come from a very middle class background in a small town in West Bengal. So when I was growing up, I was you keep forming your own value systems, and I had realized that the biggest thing I would like to achieve is to be a parent to children, and you know teach them to be a good human being as a first and foremost for
Prerequisite.
everything else you do in life. Everything else will fall in place, and all of us have a place in this world. Everybody is talented. Everybody has ability to do everything. We'll find our way out in this world. There is some more, some less. It doesn't make a difference. But what makes a difference is that do people love coming to your place? Do people love being with you, being friends with you? If they're in a distress, would they think of calling you up first? That look, I'm in
Yes.
this problem. I need help. I think those are the things. which have always driven me to make friends, to be the person I am, and that has given me the biggest joy. I mean, more than even if my startup becomes a unicorn, I think you will always be proud and happy for that. But I think the basic human satisfaction is the first thing which drives me.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking about human satisfaction, one more thing that I have adored because that is how I met Muttama and then I have met you. She used to be working with Arunim, and I know that she has had the opportunity to work with Javed Abidi, and I know that she has been the activist sort that you had to bail out of many times. It must have been difficult to have an activist wife. But having said that, I also know that you are hugely into diversity and inclusion in terms of getting people of determination to be part of the society, being accepted. And I know that you do a lot for Raksha, which is out in Cochin. Both of you are associated extremely well. You know, what is it as a message? Because I know you have lived like an example. So when we are looking at the youngsters today, there are multiple number of advices that you can give, whether it is being a startup or being a business leader, being a human being, and being a compassionate human being to accept everybody as they are. The youngsters in the audience or people in the audience who would be seeing this show, what is it that they should take away? Because you have so much that are a feather, each of them a feather in the cap. And I have been humbled, and it has been a surreal experience to watch both of you, because I've actually seen that about that piece.
You know, there are two parts to it, and Muthu's own career would say that. So, one is the grassroots level. There would be a time when it is important for anybody to get involved with something at the grassroots level, because only then you will get to learn the actual problems, the actual challenges. Uh, Sometimes we tend to become too policy focused, that we would like to work in an organization or be associated with the organization which is formulating policies. uh, I personally feel that it needs to be, there has to be a proper balance between these two. That you need to have an exposure at the grassroots level, as also uh, find a way to influence the policy making process at some stage. But it doesn't happen simultaneously. Uh, it's a sequential thing. Once you have enough grassroots experience, only then you can get access to the policy making table. Uh, So yeah, so Raksha is very close to our heart, both Muthu's and mine, because for the longest period of time she has worked there, and we know that we can bring in a lot of change and make difference to lives. These are Raksha handles children with multiple disabilities. These are severely challenged children, not just physically challenged, but also neurological, challenges. Uh, the goal is to make them uh, equipped with certain abilities which can make them stand up on their own, financially independent. So that's the goal, because then you are creating a chain reaction, right? If
Yes,
you do one,
yes,
then it will make a lot of difference. So that's what we
yeah,
do with Raksha. But also at the policy level, Muthu has been associated with many organizations where you could help them frame from the learnings and the experiences which we have from the classroom. Having said that, both the daughters, are even more activists than what Muthu is. So we now have
yes.
three activists at home.
I'm very, very glad that they are like that and they've been brought up so well. One of the things that I would like to touch base upon, because reading and books and everything, it will be Muthu. When she comes on board, that's something I would talk. But one thing that I would like to point out on is I know that there was the situation at home where Muthu was extremely sick and it was touch and go. And I mean, it sort of breaks my heart about that particular situation. How did you deal with? I know the kids were very small, because that's a learning that everybody can take as a parent, as a father. How did you handle that? It definitely was not easy,
It wasn't easy. It was very, very
because I
tough.
know
Because,
touch and go. Yes,
sorry?
I know that it was touch and go and it was one of the most difficult things. How did you do it?
It was really touch and go. So, human beings have this intrinsic ability to find strength at the most difficult situations. So when we got to learn what has happened to her and how serious it was, uh, obviously the first thought goes as to what do we do from there on. Uh, I think the one thing which I did was to ensure that the kids are. I personally don't like when people say that okay, they are small, don't tell them anything. They may. I think that's the worst thing one can do to human beings.
Yes,
To
yes, I
assume that
agree.
people do not have the ability to understand. At the end of the day, it is their mother; they have every right to know. So we were very open, and we told them what it is and what it would mean, and so they were. Then you make them participant in that whole process, right? It becomes easier that way. When you get them to your side and treat them as human beings, right? You may not treat them as adults, but treat them as human beings. Give them the value as human beings.
Yes,
They become part of your process. Then it becomes that much easier to handle the challenges. So I think that's the first thing which we did.
wow.
Second thing, of course, also it helped them it has made them mature much faster than they would have otherwise because they knew what serious the situation was. And we also told them that they may have to sacrifice a few things in their lives in terms of time, friendship here and there, and but then you are having willing participants. They are
Yes,
part of your force, right? They're fighting the battle with you. uh, and of course that as I said, in those kind of times, uh, I'll come back to that butterfly effect, that if in your own life if you have done those small things right
yeah,
and correct, and these will all add up at some place. So when we had this situation, I think uh, hundreds of friends, relatives, and uh, there was no dearth of help, who came together to ensure that everything else is taken care of. And the house runs, the kids, their education, schooling, everything taken care of. So I think that is where it matters that human relation. If you have built your relations, it'll hold you in good stead.
yes, totally. Every single thing that you have said today, I am sure that everybody who watches this show, because I am in awe of both of you, I am in awe of you as a human being, the way you have carried off, the way you have been as a father, and I have loved Muthu for the kind of mother she has been. You are examples that I have taken pages from every single time, right? So, one advice to adolescents and youngsters who are out there wanting to do something and to be better versions of themselves, one advice that you would like to give them.
Ah, from my own philosophy, right? I always tell my children and their friends that um, try and focus on the controllables. I see too many times people get worried about things where they can't even do anything about that, right? So there is no point worrying about that because then you are taking stress, which is uncalled for. Because even taking stress is not going to, create a solution for that. So instead, focus on the controllables. The process is more important than the end result, because if you
Yeah,
keep doing your process, the result will happen. uh, Many times, many of us actually lose focus on the process, and we get too much tied down by the goal and the end result. I think it's good to have a goal. There's no
yeah,
harm in having a goal, but it is more important to focus on the process to reach that goal. If you do that process, it will happen. I have seen it in my own life that
yes,
if you keep focused on that process, if you keep doing the things and within your control, if something is getting outside your control, find out how to get it back, right? Then everything, all the results will come by your way. I think that's the hard part, to follow the process and not get tempted by the quick results is what the challenging thing is.
very much, very much. Frankly speaking, I must tell you that I don't think that 1 hour can ever cover everything that I want the people to hear from you. frankly speaking, what I would love to do is probably get you here in the UAE and be speaking in various colleges, because that would be a dream that I would love to actually probably fulfill at some point of time, Parag. Now we come to one of the most different parts of this particular show.
Hmm.
This is something that doesn't happen on every show. So I give my guest an opportunity to ask me two questions. So it's time for the two questions.
Oh,
So what are
that's
you
a
going
tough
to ask? And you get only
one.
two questions.
Let me think. Okay, since I have known you for many years and I have known you as a person, as a friend, and you have had an equally challenging life of your own, being a single mother, someone who has battled major health issues, right? Uh, what keeps you going? How do you how did you manage
Ah,
to reach here where you have reached? Many of the people do
uh,
not know in the world.
two things. One, I'm high on life. I am very high on life. जिंदगी का जो नशा है, I am very high on life. One. Two is my faith. My ultimate faith, blind faith in the universe and the powers of the universe that I believe in, that I am going to live because I have taken the subscription to achieve something in life. There is a larger purpose, and hence every time that I end up in the ICU, I look forward to that power of the universe that says, nah, you're not done yet. So there is a joke that I always sort of tell my children, that every time I go into the ICU, God is so scared to have me up there because I'm going to create a ruckus. He says, leave her there. He tells, the angel of death, please leave her there and pick someone else, because she's going to come here and create a ruckus. But on a lighter note, but I think it is because I have a larger purpose for mankind. I am not done yet. I'm not done until I am done. So I fight tooth and nail, and I believe that the positive energies of the universe keeps me going, and I'm so high on life. Every day I die in the night, and I wake up in the morning for a brighter day, for sunshine, and I've got one more chance to do something better and to be a better human being in this world. So that's what drives me. I believe that sleep is temporary death. I wake up every day thanking the universe that I have got, and that keeps me
I
going.
think that's a super attitude to have in life. I wish more people become like you, because then it will become a much better place to live in, right?
I think I love human beings a lot. I don't know, mankind, people sort of make me very happy. Each day when I wake up, I see beautiful people, so much they have to achieve, so many things to happen. It's the God. I feel that the creator's way, or the universe's way of saying the world must go on. And why should I be upset? Because what has to
Mhm.
happen will happen. So it shall be written, and so it shall be done.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So your second question.
Where do you get all your energy from? And why don't you
Wow.
share some of it with others?
Okay. Two, I think my energy comes from my inner peace and faith. Um, I tell people that you need to find your Nemo within. Nemo means nobody in Latin. You need to read your own book. You need to get within yourself. You have to live like a bubble on water, attached yet detached, because it is in that emptiness that you find yourself.
Mhm.
And I found myself. Did I know this all along? No. I always had this penchant to find out the purpose of life. Why do we exist? And every day we sleep, we get up. Why? There has to be a reason. Why? Because there is somebody else in some part of the world who did not wake up to the next day. So my energy levels have to do with the fact that there are beautiful human beings. All the negatives can wait. All the positives is what and I love to smile. I just cannot not smile. So if
Yeah,
you see, probably I think there have been people who have always said that every picture of yours has a sunshine. I love smiling because think about it. When you smile, the person opposite of you has to smile. He doesn't have a choice.
true,
So when
true,
you
true.
frown at somebody, the person opposite of you, whoever it is, can actually, have 3 million things to think about. Oh my God, maybe she's upset, maybe she's angry, maybe this, maybe that. But just imagine every situation that is very, very tensed up. all that you have to do is smile, and you just break that. Like, I remember this incident where I was actually on the Delhi roads, and there was a mistake that happened, right? So all of a sudden, and the person was going to start cursing, but then all I said is, I'm so sorry, and I just smiled. And he said, you've got a great smile, so I'm going to let you go. So that's important, right?
Yeah.
So, and it happened to me many times in New York when I was growing up, even over here. So smiling is important. Keeping a positive energy level is very important. And every time I have challenges, I go looking for people who I can cheer up or do something for. I
Mm.
find a person who has a worse challenge than me. And I would, even in New York City, I would go to a hospice. I would go to patients who are, who have few days to live, and I would spend time with them. I would spend time with elders. I think there's a lot of inspiration in this world. I don't think, I mean, my energy levels are all from the universe. I think God just keeps me going. I think He has pumped me up. I've become an energizer battery, I think.
Good, good.
What do
That's
I
a
have to
great
lose?
one. Absolutely.
What do I have to lose? So all we have, I think, is this life. We do not know if we are going to have another life, right? So I think
Right.
that is very, very important. Yeah. So I think music has helped a lot. So my writing has helped a lot. So every time I'm upset, I'm either writing or listening to music. So that's something that has helped me immensely. You know. So before we end the show, um, what is it that I know that I've asked you advice for the adolescents and the youngsters, a special because I know that you're very supportive with women. Many times we women, I think, underestimate ourselves and the power of who we can be as individuals, because we are the only ones who can be so multiple people in one. And if you have to give advice to the women folk, because they are the ones who are going to be mothers, I think more than any other parent, right? So they have a lot to do with children's upbringing and during the adolescent phase. What is it that you would tell women? What is the advice, one advice that you would give to women across the world?
I don't think I can give any advice, but all I can tell you is that, by being born as women itself is the biggest gift one can have, right? There is no
Wow,
better gift.
thank you.
And
Thank you.
just, use your opportunity being a woman to, shape the world, because whatever you may say, ultimately it's all the women who was, um, making the changes in the world, right? Whether from home or outside home. So no advice, but as I say that, and that's the biggest gift you have, being born as a woman. So take your time and do the
And
best
I
what
am
you can
sure,
do.
thank you. I'm sure that you're going to have a very huge fan following for saying that. Because I remember I met when I met Muthu, we were speaking. I mean, I was speaking at the Commonwealth India Business Meet, and the title was "Women as an Agent of Change," and we are agents of
Mm.
change. And I think we have it within ourselves to be, and we should feel empowered at all points of time. Just be ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for adding so much of value to not just to this show, and I'm sure to so many people across the world. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being a lovely father, a lovely husband. And, I know that many people say that, behind every successful man is a woman, but I know that behind every successful woman is also a man. I've got two amazing partners who support me, and they are the power, beneath my wings. And Muthu has got you. Thank you for being such a lovely human being and adding so much of value to this universe. I'm sure that we'll continue to keep on learning. Good luck with Homepecked, because I am looking forward to, by the way, seeing a release of Homepecked here in the UAE, because the construction industry, the real estate industry is so huge. And I am sure that it can add value. To each one of you who wants to get in touch with Parag, kindly connect with him on LinkedIn, because he does not use any other social media platform. It was a challenge to tag him anywhere else. So he's on LinkedIn. And by the way, he is a very avid music lover too. He does a lot of other things that I have covered in this show. For me, it has not been enough at all. But thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to stopping by and having that entire spread of delicious food that you
Yeah,
put
you're
in
most welcome.
on the table,
Thank
along
you
with,
for
of
having
course,
me over.
eating a lot.
It was indeed a pleasure, and
It's a pleasure.
to be able to converse with you, uh, in an informal atmosphere. That's I think that's the beauty of this program. So there is no air of formality, and it was
Yes,
great
yes.
getting the opportunity to talk to you, and hope to see you soon, maybe in Dubai.
It's very, very much. I would love to see you here. And of course, I mean, I've always taken advice from you, even on the business front. So for all those of you who are entrepreneurs, startups, people in business, people who want to do business, Parag is an amazing, amazing mentor. I have reached out myself to him quite a lot of times. And you should connect with him on LinkedIn and take this forward. So before we end the show, um, we at Nurture Life consider that mental well-being, mental health, adolescence, women's issues, these are all issues that we should be talking about. One beautiful thing that I would love to actually end this program with is, I remember walking in, I was staying with, at Parag's place one day with Mutama. She's my very best friend. And I remember him writing up the grocery list and walking in. I was with Arzu and Tamanna, and he just pointed out, he said, "Girls, do you have pads?" Now, a father being able to do that shows how much he loves his children and how much he's a parent. And I respect that. And thank you for being the man that you are, because that gives us the comfort to say that there is nothing that our children can come and not talk about. Thank you for being such a lovely, lovely human being. And for all those of you across the world who have watched us, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us and giving us one of the most precious gifts anybody can give, time. Your 1 hour has mattered. Thank you for giving me your time, Parag. And the surprise guest for next week is going to be none other than Bhavani Iyer, the script writer of Black, Guzarish, and the upcoming Sam Bahadur. She has so many credits. We look forward to having you all next week, same time, same day, Wednesday, 7:30. Next week, everybody. Thank you so much. Parag, any last words to all our audience?
Thank you for your time and for listening to us. I hope we have been able to add some value to your time, whatever you gifted us with, and hopefully we'll cross path at some point in time in the future.
Thank you. That's lovely advice. Thank you, everybody, for being part of us, not just for today, for making us a success even in the first episode itself. Continue to be linked to us. Let's talk about issues that are important. Let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, because I am brash enough and candid enough to talk about it. Reach out to us if you have any questions. We would love to hear from you whenever you can. And if you have not seen us live, our recording will be there on all the 3 platforms. And we will also be having this podcast across platforms on Spotify, Google Podcast, and everywhere. And you can listen to Parag all over again and learn a lot from him. And I look forward to seeing you all in our next show. Thank you. Stay blessed and always have faith in yourself. Everything else will come with it. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Stay blessed.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Do we leave studio now?